I think Nick Cave is one of the most innovative artists playing in rock, pop music today. This is just an overview of my collection. I don't have everything. I have probably maybe 75% of the Nick Cave catalog, so I'm going to go through it, not dig deep into every album, but give you a little overview, mainly because last week on the 23rd of July in the year 2020, there was an amazing live stream, performance stream it actually was pre-filmed, pre-taped, of Nick Cave at the Alexandra Palace in one of the grand halls in London. And a solo piano performance, 90-minute performance, that was shot by Robbie Ryan, award-winning cinematographer. It's a beautiful concert. It was intimate, it was dark, it was moody, it was well lit. It just looked gorgeous, and it was a pay-per-view, and I subscribed to it. I actually watched it twice because there was a glitch in an hour into it, and we got thrown off, and they sent us another code, so I watched the whole thing again. So I'm hoping that it does come out eventually on a Blu-ray, or at least I'd love to have an album of it, a vinyl version of the 90-minute, like a double, triple album of it, because it's just beautiful. He did a number of songs, including 4 or 5 songs from Boatman's Call, which I'll include here, which is my favorite album. It's more piano-based album. But Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, Australian artist who had immigrated to London. He lived in Brazil for a while. In the around 85 or 86, he emigrated. He went to West Berlin, and I'll start the story there, how I got into Nick Cave. I got into Nick Cave because of one of my all-time favorite films, and that is Wings of Desire. Wings of Desire is a somewhat surreal film, moody, beautiful, gorgeous black and white cinematography directed by the German filmmaker Wim Wenders. Came out in 1985 or 86, I believe. And this film is about angels. It stars Bruno Ganz, and Bruno Ganz was also in one of my all-time favorite another films that's more of a different type of film, which is American Friend, that he directed with Bruno Ganz and Dennis Hopper. It's based on the Tom Ripley books, like The Talented Mr. Ripley, written by Patricia Highsmith, a British thriller writer. Hitchcock made Strangers on a Train based on one of her books. And it's just she's a wonderful writer, and American Friend's really interesting, but I'm digressing there because I need to go to this film. Peter Falk is in this, playing himself, Columbo, and so some of it is in English, most of it is in German, so there are subtitles, but there was a horrible American remake with Meg Ryan and Nicolas Cage, not Nicolas Cage, but anyway, this is the one to get, and it's really spiritual and artistic, and I mean I could throw out so many words. I promised myself I'd try would not to say gorgeous, because a recent video I think I said gorgeous 365 times, and I think gorgeous should be a drinking game. Every time Mazzy says gorgeous, you do a shot. But anyway, in the last third of this movie, there's a scene in a club in Berlin, in West Berlin, and it's Nick Cave performing. And I got into him. Nick Cave, sort of post-punk, grungy, garage-like, and I'm not going to get into the whole thing. I don't have any of the Birthday Party albums. The Birthday Party albums was the band. Birthday Party was the band that Nick Cave was in prior to going on his own and forming the Bad Seeds. I don't have any of their records. I know some of them, but not really well at all. And I don't have the first 4 or so Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds records, but I did get into him, and I started researching him, and the year after this movie came out, I got my first Nick Cave album. This is the soundtrack to Wings of Desire. It's some beautiful string, orchestral, minimal music. It's composed by Jürgen Nepper, and recorded in Berlin. And it has a song called Carney by Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. I believe that's performed live, I think. It's got some other things, From Here to Eternity by Nick Cave as well. It's got Angel Fragments by the great Laurie Anderson. And it's got little snippets of German bits by the actor Wim Wenders, who's in this film. So I strongly recommend this as a very ethereal, kind of modern classical album. It's actually some great trapeze art, just visually. I mean, if you're one that really can't stand subtitle movies, you should, because it's an amazing film. But at least put it on, turn the sound off, and play some Nick Cave music or something. But this got me into Nick Cave, Wings of Desire. So, I'll go through my collection. And I didn't get into Nick Cave until this album. And this is Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, Tender Prey. Very post-punk, grungy, not like grunge music, sort of the Northwest, Pacific Northwest sound. Punk, post-punk, dark, moody, but it's also very rockin'. The song Deanna, he actually did 2 versions of that song. They're later on one of the comps, there's a slower kind of a version. This is the rockin' version, just recurring, yelling out Deanna. But really great record of Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. There is an album that I don't have that I want to mention. It's called Let Love In, and I need to get that record because even though I have the song on the comp, there's a song on that album called Red Right Hand. And if those of you that watch have seen the amazing series called Peaky Blinders, that's a interesting. It's very sort of this Irish series, almost like of the mob family. So it's almost like an extended Godfather. There's been like 4 or 5 seasons now. The theme song is that Nick Cave song, and they use a lot of Nick Cave music throughout it. But Peaky Blinders, and the song is Red Right Hand. I don't have that album, and that's the next one I want to get from my collection. Then there's Murder Ballads. Now, this record is really interesting because it's sort of about, it's about murder ballads. It's about death songs. It's about like traditional songs about murder and mayhem, almost like something you'd hear Johnny Cash sing on some of his albums, some of his American albums. It also has some original songs about that, and a lot of beautiful duets with Kylie Minogue and with let's see who else is on here. PJ Harvey, who he had a moment with, and just gorgeous. Shane MacGowan from the Pogues is also on here. This is really good of the dark side of music, of ballads, of murder, mayhem, death. One of my favorites, Murder Ballads by Nick Cave. Some of it is introspective. Some of it is wild, but it's got just the right mood, I think, and especially for the subject matter. Now, the Bad Seeds, I'm not going to get into the whole configuration because I don't know it by heart, and they went through a lot of different formations. Originally, Nick Cave and one of the members from the Birthday Party went back and forth, in and out with different members over the years. This changed everything, and this is the record where I absolutely fell in love with Nick Cave, Boatman's Call. Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, but this is a more piano-based, introspective album. There are several songs in here literally written about PJ Harvey, Green Eyes and Black Hair. But it opens to Into My Arms, Lime Tree Arbor, People Ain't No Good. There's a Kingdom. This, to me, is a perfect record. I've showed this several occasions on my channel here. It is about religion. It is about angels. It is about death. It's about lust. It's about life. It's about... It's a very spiritual album. He's a very spiritual writer sometimes, and most of the time, without being preachy and not really religious thing. It's almost like the anti-religion in a way. But he gets into these things of Christ and angels and, you know, and resurrection and the like. And I'd say this album, even though it's a full album with Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, is very intimate and very low-key, very dirge-like. It's not a rock and roll record, but it's, to me, the closest to perfection that he's recorded from my point of view, from my taste. But even though I love the real raucous stuff too, this is amazing. I just like his baritone voice with the lyrics of these songs. They're sexy, and they're just gorgeous. No More Shall We Part. This album came out in 2011. Again, he's singing about God and religion and demons and death. A lot of darkness in his... So he's not an uplifting songwriter. Yet, as I said before, and I've done a couple videos, if sometimes these dark, dirgy, moody records really make me feel good. They bring sort of a peaceful feel to my soul. But love this record, gorgeous record. A little more intimate in a way, not like Boatman's Call, but you know, not quite crazy yet. Now, he starts getting the Fuller Band back together and really has a full band experience with Nocturama, Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, Wonderful Life, Right Over Your Hands, Dead Man in My Bed, Rock of Gibraltar. Side 3 on this is a 3-sided double album, has a long song called Babe on Fire, which is just a gnarly, in-your-face, just like dirty song. Dirty in terms of just, you know, there's a lot of passion there, a lot of angst going on in there. But I don't think this is a lot of people's favorites, but I quite like this record a lot, Nocturama. Now going into one of my favorites is this record, Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, and this is Abertoir Blues and The Lyre of Orpheus. This was made as a double record with 2 completely different albums. Lyre of Orpheus, Abertoir Blues. One is a more full-throated rock and roll, intense kind of album. One's more intimate. I don't want to say acoustic based, but it's got those kind of feels in it. So it's really got all the lyrics here. You don't need to see the lyrics. You can't read the lyrics on these videos, can you? But this is a true double album, and in all the way double albums in a way should be. It's got like 2 faces to it, 2 completely feels, almost like 2 separate albums slapped together. So I'm loving this record. This is in one of my tops of Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. I did see them around this time. This was around, in fact, let me throw this in while we're here. This is a live comp. It has a DVD, 2 DVDs, one at the Brixton Academy in London performance and Hammersmith Apollo in London in 2003, 2004. That was the first time I saw him twice. It's the first time I ever saw him. Saw him in San Francisco. And then it's got 2 CDs of music from the tour. So the live stuff is really good too. A lot of video you can kind of see on the web and everything. It's got just this, well, Nick Cave. Okay, now let's talk about resurrection. Again, death, religion, sex, lust, Christ, and then there's Lazarus. I won't get into the story of Lazarus. Other religious scholars can talk about, Christ rolling away the stone and rise Lazarus. So, dig Lazarus, dig. And it's, in a way, conceptually about that story. I'm not a religious person. I know sort of historical religious references and all the stuff that's made up in the Bible. I know a lot of that stuff. I know the stories. I've read some of the stories. I've seen the movies. But Dig Lazarus, Dig is a great song, actually, to begin. It opens the song. Today's lesson, Moonland, Night of the Lotus Eaters, Albert Goes West, Jesus of the Moon, More News from Nowhere. This is a cool record. I like this record. I quite like this record. It's got some rockin' stuff. It's I think it's a novel approach to his perception of what these spiritual things are about and these stories. And when he does a lot of ballads and things of historical references. Again, I said references of real and spiritual icons here. So I really kind of dig Lazarus. I dig it. Another gorgeous record. This is Nick Cave and his current wife. Beautiful photograph of them. And this is called Push the Sky Away. Finishing Jubilee Street and Higgs Boson Blues. Push the Sky Away. Gorgeous record. A little more intimate in a way. Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds again. He does records under the moniker of With the Bad Seeds and Without the Bad Seeds. And it's almost kind of like, I'd say a parallel would be Neil Young, who does, on his own or with the Stray Gators or with his bands, different bands, with Crazy Horse. He's very similar in that way. His piano playing is gorgeous. It can be relaxing. It's just really beautiful. Now, this was, I think, a limited edition that was done on the Push the Sky tour in 2013. This is from KCRW in Santa Monica, one of the great radio stations on the West Coast. And this is a live show that was recorded and put out as a limited edition in 2013. And it's got some songs from this particular show, or from this particular album, from the Push the Sky Away album. But another wonderful appearance by Nick Cave. Now, Nick Cave has gone through a bit of a transition the last few years, and I think it started right during this album, right during this. Nick Cave lost his son. Young son, fell off a cliff, and it was very reminiscent of what happened to Eric Clapton's son all those years ago. And obviously, just prior, I think this is the one just prior before it came out, he retooled some of the lyrics, even though some of it was already written and recorded prior to the loss of his son. But some people who are really like the rockin' Nick Lowe and the intense Nick Lowe and that intimate were disappointed by these next couple records. However, they're amongst my favorite. They're very moody. He starts bringing in electronic and synthesizers and loops, and it's a little more ambient. These are gorgeous records, and this is Skeleton Tree, amongst my favorite, but a very wonderful record. But of course, this is the one that came out last year, Ghosteen. Ghosteen was my number one favorite record in 2019. Again, some people couldn't get into this because it's sort of long-winded, spiritual, moody, sometimes like a beat poet where he speaks some of the prose rather than sings it, a combination of the two. And I compare it, it's actually, the new Bob Dylan record has a feeling of this record. I think they're listening to each other a little bit. And but Ghosteen is a beautiful cover, surreal. Obviously, this was a fully realized spiritual expression, I think, that he needed to do after his son. So this is the first full-on album recorded after the loss of his son. And even though it's Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, his really partner in crime, I use that term loosely, in the last so many years has been Warren Ellis, who's been a member of the Bad Seeds for a long time. Warren Ellis is primarily a violin player and has worked on this album. In fact, that's him with Nick. Plays violin and has done a number of soundtracks, which I'll get to. I only have two of the soundtracks. And in fact, in the background, I'll tell you what I'm playing. That is one of the soundtracks, one of the most beautiful soundtrack, I think, that Nick Cave and Warren Ellis have collaborated on. I think I'm gonna, before I go into a couple of those offshoots and soundtracks, there's a couple more things I'll show on CD. This came out in 2005, and this is 3 CDs of B-sides and outtakes, really across different long period of time. 3 CDs in a box, no special artwork. And then there's this. Now, I would say if you don't know Nick Cave, the first album to get would be Boatman's Call, by far. Again, if you know if you've been watching me, you know my taste. I like this moody, and I like beauty in my. Although I do like really hard rock and roll sometimes, not in the metal, and but I like more punk and more grungy and more garagey. But I like a mix of that. I would say this 3-record set would be the one to get after Boatman's Call. This is basically like a best of. In fact, it is. It's the best of Neil Young, Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, 1984 to 2004. So a 30th anniversary. It's got. This would be a good introduction, a good overview of his work. Now, if you're a CD collector, they put this out in various configurations. That's the whole thing now of 2 CDs, 3 CDs, expanded it. But this is the super whopper. If you're a CD person and you like artwork and books, this is the one to get. This is the Lovely Creatures, the best of Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. And this comes in a slipcase. And all the CDs, this has, 4 CDs, I believe? 1, 2, 3, 4 CDs. And this gorgeous book, almost like a scrapbook, an overview of his life and career, life of the Bad Seeds. It includes interesting loose leaf things like sketches. Lyrics of Deanna. Again, I just love artwork. I love books, artwork. I love archives of artists. And I believe that Nick Cave is one of the most important artists musical artist of our time out there now. He's about, what is he now, about 61, 62 years old. There's a lot of essays in here. Just an amazing, amazing overview. So this is a pretty cool collection and something that I cherish. So I don't even know if this one's available. I suppose it is on the resale market. Okay, a couple more things. The Offshoot. When I've seen Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, there are literally like 9-10 people on stage. It's an amazing collaboration of musicians, and it's almost like second only, and not even second only, like the E Street Band. There's a certain mass to them, and they just sound really wonderful live. He did an Offshoot project, and I think this was in 2007, the first one came out. So far, there have been 2 records under the name Grinderman. Grinderman is kind of like an Offshoot band it's just instead of the full Bad Seeds, it's the smaller version, a tighter rock and roll version. I'd say more garage-like, and so this, you're not going to get moody, really stuff on this album. You're going to get just loud rock and roll. So if you like kind of loud garage rock and roll with just Nick Cave howling at you and yelling and singing, this is a place to go. Grinderman. And then a few years later, they did Grinderman 2. Or maybe this is the remix. Is this the remix? Anyway, this might be the remix. Oh, no. Anyway, Grinderman 2. Did I get that wrong? I probably did. And there are rumors now, they're talking about doing a Grinderman 3, but it's been some time, so. I'm going to close out with just 2 soundtracks. They've done a number of soundtracks together. This one's pretty good. It's not my favorite, but Nick Cave and Warren Ellis, West of Memphis, sort of an indie Australian film, I believe. And again, this amongst my favorite films the last God, how many years? This is 2007 this came out. And this is The Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford. This is one of the most beautiful films I've ever seen. Amazing cinematography, slow moving, ongoing. Brad Pitt's in it. It's got Casey Affleck is in it. And of course, a lot of these actors you'll probably recognize. There's even an Avenger in there. You got Sam Shepard, the great writer, poet, actor. Sam Shepard's in here. But this is what's been playing in the background the entire time. Spiritually moving, beautiful. But I would say watch this movie. There are long scenes where nothing happens, but again, it's one of the most gorgeous cinematic films I've ever seen. And it's about a long film, I think, but I suggest this. So I'm ending with this for the Nick Cave overview here. Just shy of 30 minutes. Again, if you get a chance to, I don't know if it's going to be available again, but Alexandra Palace, Nick Cave, Idiot Prayer, watch that or look out for that record if it ever comes out, because I highly recommend it. So Mazzy loves Nick Cave, Nick Cage, Nick Cave, and I wonder if they get each other's mail. And Mazzy loves you. Thank you for watching. I really greatly appreciate it.